Part 1. Dominating the Powerful Families, Rebirth of the Strongest Divinator. Author, Long Juyu. Chapter 1. Shenzhou Kingdom, Beijing, Ning Family. According to the Chinese calendar, it was December 12, 1988, around 10 a.m. Wei Lanlan, the eldest granddaughter-in-law of the Ning family, was lying in the luxurious delivery room specially designed by the Ning family, preparing to give birth. The entire Ning family was on standby, nervously waiting for the birth of the twins in her belly. One of the twin children in Wei Lanlan's belly has been predicted by the famous Taoist monk of the Huguo Temple in the capital, Master Xian Yuan, to be a precious child born with a phoenix life. You are born with a phoenix life. Can I be treated the same as ordinary children? Master Xian Yuan is a famous fortune teller at Huguo Temple in Beijing, and his predictions are never wrong. If he hadn't happened to pass by the Ning family a few days before Wei Lanlan gave birth and saw the statues of dignitaries with phoenix wings spread around the Ning family's mansion, he wouldn't have gone in specially for the sake of the Ning family. The unborn child commands. At that time, Master Xian Yuan said to the head of the family, Ning Changsheng, with a serious face, Wei Lanlan is destined to have a child in her belly. As long as your family treats each other well, it will definitely bring happiness to your Ning family in the future, endless glory and wealth. After saying this, the old man drifted away. The Ning family was naturally very happy when they heard Master Xuan Yuan's prediction. The Ning family was not short of money. In order to avoid accidents during the delivery of this precious child, such as the possibility of being transferred or being carried by the wrong child, the family decided to let Wei Lanlan give birth to the child at home after discussion. They spent a lot of money to bring in professional gynecologists, nurses, and confinement sisters, ready to handle the birth of the Ning family's little princess Jingui. But Wei Lanlan is pregnant with twin daughters. Which one is the real master of Phoenix's life? Outside the delivery room, all three generations of the Ning family were waiting here anxiously, hoping to welcome the arrival of their Ning family's little princess as soon as possible. Mr. Ning and Ms. Ning of the first generation. The current second generation head of the family, Ning Changsheng, and his wife Lu Lirong. And, as an expectant father, Ning Yu. Ning Yu walked around the door of the delivery room, looking at his watch constantly. Hearing his wife's screams faintly coming from inside the delivery room, he was worried. Why haven't you given birth yet? It's so torturous. Just as he finished speaking, a loud cry of a baby rang out. Ning Yu immediately cheered to his grandfather, grandmother, and parents with excitement. Give birth. Lan Lan has given birth. Our little princess is born. Ha ha ha, our little princess is born. Just when their family was excited and happy, waiting for the doctor inside to take the baby out to them quickly, the Ning family who were waiting outside the delivery room suddenly heard someone in the delivery room let out a sharp scream. Ah! Immediately afterwards, the door to the delivery room was opened with a bang. A female doctor in a white coat screamed like a madman and rushed out in panic with a face full of fear. Monster! Monster! It's a three-eyed monster! When the old man of the Ning family heard that she was still yelling about monsters and monsters, his face turned dark and he immediately shouted angrily at his son Ning Changsheng, "Why are you still standing there? Why don't you stop this crazy woman quickly? If she goes out and yells, will our Ning family lose our reputation? Stop her." When Ning Changsheng thought of the terrible consequences of this female doctor going out and yelling, he suddenly trembled with fear. He immediately rushed forward, grabbed the female doctor, and hit her directly on the back of the neck, knocking her unconscious to the ground. The other nurses and confinement sisters who ran out immediately, when they saw Ning Changsheng reaching out his hand to knock out the female doctor with a gloomy look, were all frightened and stood there with pale faces, huddled up, and felt scared. Extremely. Will the Ning family kill all of them? They had heard that Ning Changsheng was ruthless and would use any means to achieve his goals. Once someone involved his interests, he would not even recognize his relatives. Ning Changshen walked up to them step by step, looked at them with cold eyes, and said in an obviously threatening tone, "Excuse me, please go in and sit down for a while. Don't worry, as long as you are sensible, our Ning family will never I will treat you badly." When the nurses and confinement sisters met Ning Changshen's cold gaze, their scalps suddenly went numb and they quickly retreated to the delivery room. After Ning Changshen controlled these people, he walked into the delivery room with Mr. Ning, Mrs. Ning Lu Lirong, and their son Ning Yu. They no longer care about any taboos, they just want to see with their own eyes. Is the baby girl born after this really a three-eyed monster, as they said? Wei Lanlin, the mother in the delivery room, was so frightened that she fainted after learning that she had given birth to a monster. On the crib next to the delivery bed, there lay a wrapped little baby girl. She was the first child to come out. But the other little baby girl who had just been born was still naked, and even the navel cord had not been cut. She just opened a pair of black eyes as clear as stars, quietly looking at the place where she was born. Everyone in the Ning family suppressed their inner fears and stepped forward to take a look. Everyone was suddenly frightened and took a breath, their faces extremely ugly. This little baby girl indeed has a third eye on her forehead. Her third eye exudes a dazzling light, as if it can see through all things and swallow everything. When the child's third eye glanced at everyone in the Ning family, all the Ning family members instantly felt as if they were being targeted by an ancient monster. A trace of fear suddenly arose in their hearts, and quickly spread to the whole body, making their spirits also quickly collapsed. As the child's grandmother, Lu Lirong was so frightened that her eyes widened and she was the first to scream, "It's really a monster. Oh my God. It's so scary. It's so scary. It's so scary." Mrs. Ning was also frightened and took several steps back, trembling all over. Her old face was full of panic, and she was screaming strangely, "Monster. It's really a monster. Come on, throw her out. Throw her out." Lu Lirong also nodded her head fiercely and screamed in fear, "Yes, yes, throw it out. Throw it out quickly, my God, this is not a natural destiny. I think it's just a disaster star coming to the world. Quick. Kill her." As soon as Mr. Ning heard the words "disaster star coming to the world," his heart trembled again. Then, with sharp eyes, he yelled angrily at Lu Lirong, "Shut up. Master Xian Yuan is a master of arithmetic, and he will never make mistakes. This is not good. Isn't there a good-looking one there? A child? We just need to get rid of this three-eyed monster and leave the good one alone. Idiot." As the current head of the family, Ning Changshen, after hearing what Mr. Ning said, he also made a gloomy face and said decisively, "The old man is right, just keep the good ones, and put the ones that shouldn't be there directly send her to the west." An icy chill flashed across Shen Tianxing's eyes. This whole family wanted her to die? Dominating the Powerful Families, Rebirth of the Strongest Divinator. Author, Long Juyu. Chapter 2. Ning Changshen didn't notice that little Shen Tianxing would have such cold eyes. After he finished saying that he was going to send her home, he turned to look at his pale son standing aside and gave him a direct order, "Ning Yu, I'll leave this matter to you." Ning Yu looked at him in horror, shook his head violently and said, "No. I won't go. Dad, this is my child, the blood of our Ning family. People say that this tiger poison is not edible, how can I do it?" When Shen Tianxing heard this, he thought that his biological father still had a little bit of humanity. As a result, immediately afterwards, she heard him say cold-bloodedly, "If I do this, it will leave a shadow in my heart in the future. Even if you want to take action, you should let others do it." He. A sneer flashed in Shen Tianxing's eyes. What kind of rotten people are this family? At first, Ning Changshen thought that his son was reluctant to let go of this little monster, and thought he was too kind to a woman. Only when he heard his son say it to the end, he realized that it turned out that his son was not reluctant to let go of this little monster, but was worried about himself. I'm afraid that if I do it myself, it will leave a shadow in my heart. But he felt that what his son said was very reasonable. We really cannot let our son do this kind of evil thing himself, lest he ruin his luck. Ning Changshen was thinking about who should he let handle this difficult matter. At this time, I heard Mrs. Ning saying with a fierce murderous look, I think, let Mrs. Lin go. Mrs. Lin has been with me for so many years. She knows the rules of our family and should not be outside. Nonsense. After hearing this, Mr. Ning decided directly, Sister Lin is a good person, let's just kill this child and bury it in a random wilderness. Ning, you, go and ask Sister Lin to come over. Yes. Shen Tianxing, who had just been reincarnated, listened to the family's conversation, and a trace of ridicule and sneer flashed quickly in the depths of his black eyes as bright as stars at night. This family is really stupid, and self-righteous. She, Shen Tianxing, is obviously the famous young pavilion master of Tianji Pavilion in the fairy world, and she was reincarnated with the eyes of God that everyone in the fairy world dreams of. She was able to be reincarnated into this family. This was originally the great fortune and blessing of their Ning family. But now, these stupid people actually regard her as a three-eyed little monster. The most hateful thing is that these ignorant fools actually want to kill her with all their heart. Shen Tianxing was really angry, and felt sad and ridiculous for their stupidity. She obviously didn't commit any sin in her previous life, so how could she be reincarnated into such a rotten family? It's so baffling. It's okay not to have such a vicious blood relative. However, it might not be that easy for them to kill her, just wait and see. Mrs. Lin came over quickly after receiving the summons. When she heard Mrs. Ning's whispered instructions, her heart suddenly trembled. When her eyes fell on Shen Tianxing, a hint of helplessness and pity quickly flashed through her. But Mrs. Lin is a smart servant. She knows when to do something, and she knows when to keep her mouth shut. Now that the Ning family had decided to do this, she didn't say anything more. She just bowed her head and responded respectfully, I understand, then cut off Shen Tianxing's umbilical cord quickly, and then quickly wrap it up. Then, Mrs. Lin picked up the baby quilt she had prepared next to her early in the morning, wrapped little Shen Tianxing tightly, picked her up, carefully put her into the prepared large vegetable basket, and then covered her. After putting on a piece of cloth, he quickly picked up the large vegetable basket and walked quickly out of the back door of Ning's house. Seeing Mrs. Lin carrying Shen Tianxing out of the back door, the Ning family members slumped down on the stools and breathed a long sigh of relief. After a while, Ning Changshen looked calmly at the poor doctors and nurses, with a cold murderous intent flashing in his eyes. For the reputation of the Ning family, for the baby girl left behind, and for her life, these insiders must all die. In his opinion, only the dead have the harshest mouths. These poor doctors and nurses were blown up by the Ning family on their way home in a car sent by the Ning family. In the end, they were all silenced on the grounds of a car accident. Afterwards, the Ning family pretended to be compassionate and paid each of these families a large amount of compensation, so that these family members successfully shut up and never said another word. And Shen Tianxing, who was carried out by Mrs. Lin in a large vegetable basket, had already arrived at the door of a small hotel. Shen Tianxing heard Mrs. Lin saying to her in a low voice, "Good boy, although they said they wanted me to kill you, God is kind to you. I'm afraid there will be retribution for doing this, so I don't dare to do such evil things. It just so happens that I have a distant relative. They have been married for many years and have no children. Now they come to the capital to see a doctor. I will give you to them now. Don't worry, they are both kind-hearted people and will definitely do well in the future. Take care of you." Shen Tianxing couldn't help but feel a little moved when he heard Sister Lin's words. This was the first warmth she received after she was reincarnated into this world. She also remembered Mrs. Lin's kindness. If another person were to deal with her, she might have to fight to the death to survive. Although she, Shen Tianxing, is not as famous as Master in the immortal world, she is still relatively famous. However, she did not expect that the eye of the god that all immortals dreamed of obtained unintentionally would explode when she recognized her master. An extremely violent energy destroyed her immortal body. Just when she thought she was going to be completely finished, she didn't expect to be reincarnated in the lower world again. Now she is regarded as a monster by these mortals because of this god's eye. Shen Tianxing's mood at this time was really complicated and difficult to describe. She thought of her dear master again. She wondered if the master would be sad for her after knowing that she was dead. Will you feel sorry for her? Will you miss her? When Shen Tianxing thought of her master who had an innocent look and exuded an aura of indifference and alienation, and then thought that from now on, she would never see his noble and handsome face, which was so stunning that countless fairies fell in love with her. Shen Tianxing couldn't help but want to cry when he could no longer see his incomparable figure. Melancholy, loss, helplessness, regret. She tried hard to ignore the tingling pain in her heart, and the lingering thoughts lingering in her heart. If she had known that getting this god's eye would make her lose her master, then she would rather not have this god's eye that everyone wants to grab, but stay with her master, guard him, and live with him for the rest of her life. But now, it's too late to regret. My favorite master, farewell. While Shen Tianxing's sad thoughts were flying all over the sky, Mrs. Lin had already taken her into a simple small hotel. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Dominating the Powerful Families, Rebirth of the Strongest Divinator. Author, Long Juyu. Chapter 3. When the young waitress on duty in the small hotel saw Mrs. Lin entering the door, she quickly stood up and asked politely, "Sister, who are you looking for?" Mrs. Lin replied with a smile, "Sister, let me find Shen Wenru and Li Xiaoxia who live in room 202. I am a relative of their family." The waitress asked her again, "Did you bring your ID card?" Mrs. Lin was in a hurry when she went out. She didn't bring her ID card. She had to apologize and said with a smile, "Sister, look, I went out in a hurry and didn't bring my ID card. Can you be accommodating and let me go up and look for them?" When the waitress heard Mrs. Lin say she didn't have an ID card, she immediately said to her seriously, "That's not okay. You don't have ID card registration information. If something happens, I can't afford it." Although it was no longer necessary to issue a letter of introduction when traveling in the 1980s, ID verification was still very strict. Mrs. Lin could only plead with the waitress, "Sister, I beg you, let me go up. I can come down soon, okay? Okay." But the waitress insisted on her principle, "No, you can either go home and get your ID and come back, or, I'll go up to you and notify the guests in room 202 to see if they are willing to come out to see you." If it were normal times, it would be possible for Mrs. Lin to go back and get the certificate and then come here to find someone. But in today's special and urgent situation, how could she go back to Ning's house to get the certificate? Hearing that the waitress was so kind as to go up to inform Shen Wenru and Li Xiaoxia after what she said, Mrs. Lin smiled happily and said, okay, then I'll have you, Sister Lao. Please go up and inform them, I'm right here, wait for them to come down." "Okay, then you wait for a while." Just as the waitress was about to go up, she saw Shen Wenru and Li Xiaoxia walking down with their luggage bags. The waitress immediately smiled and said to Mrs. Lin, "Come on, I don't have to go up to help you find it. They came down by themselves." When Shen Wenru and Li Xiaoxia saw Mrs. Lin, They laughed happily and greeted Mrs. Lin enthusiastically. "Sister Lin, why are you here? We are about to go back to our hometown." Mrs. Lin glanced at the waitress and quickly pulled Shen Wenru and Li Xiaoxia to a corner. She lowered her voice and said to them, "Wenru, Xiaoxia, I have an unwanted child here. I specially sent it here to ask about it. If you want this child, take this child and leave immediately." When Shen Wenru and Li Xiaoxia saw Mrs. Lin's nervous look, they were not happy but were shocked. "Child? Whose child? Is there something wrong with the child?" Mrs. Lin said anxiously, "Don't ask whose family the child is from. This child had a hard life. As soon as she was born, she was rejected by her family. She had an extra eye on her forehead. The family said they wanted to kill her. I can't bear this child, so I brought her to you. If you don't want her, then I can only throw this child away, and her life and death will be left to fate." When Shen Wenru and Li Xiaoxia heard what Mrs. Lin said, the couple looked at each other. After a while, Shen Wenru asked Mrs. Lin, "Where is the child? Let us take a look." Mrs. Lin quietly lifted the cloth at a corner of the basket, revealing the baby in the basket. Shen Wenru and Li Xiaoxia looked down and met Shen Tianxing's big black eyes. These eyes are like stars, shining brightly. Li Xiaoxia couldn't help but praise, "What beautiful eyes! This child is also good looking, how could they be willing to abandon her?" When Shen Wenru and Li Xiaoxia saw Shen Tianxing for the first time, they couldn't help but fall in love with this child. Li Xiaoxia looked at the little guy's smooth and clean forehead, and then thought about what Mrs. Lin said before, and couldn't help but asked with some confusion, "Sister-in-law Lin, didn't you say that this child has an eye on his forehead? Where is there?" Mrs. Lin also discovered at this time that the third eye on this little guy's forehead had disappeared. She was also very surprised in her heart. What's going on? She clearly had a third eye on her forehead when she came out, but now it's gone. It's so strange. So strange. Shen Wenru and Li Xiaoxia carefully touched the child's body again and found that except for being a little small, the little guy looked healthy. The couple looked at each other and made a decision in their hearts. Shen Wenru asked Mrs. Lin cautiously again, "Sister-in-law Lin, is there really no problem with giving this child to us? Don't let us take the child back and cause trouble again in the future. It will be a big trouble. We don't want to take the child back to us." The basket was empty. Mrs. Lin replied in a low voice, "Didn't I tell you that this child's family regarded her as a monster and wanted to kill her? I couldn't bear it. That's when I thought of you. If you really want to, when I get back to her, I will tell the family that I have sent this child to the West, and you just need to raise this child as your own, which can be considered a great virtue on our part." Shen Wenru no longer hesitated, nodded directly and said, "Okay, we want this child. We, husband and wife, will treat her as our own from now on and will never treat her badly. Sister-in-law, don't worry." Seeing what they said, Mrs. Lin immediately handed the basket to them. She warned them again and again, "You should take your children away quickly. If you don't have anything important to do in the future, don't come to the capital again. That family is not easy to mess with. If we know that I have done anything, we will not have a good life. You know." Shen Wenru and Li Xiaoxia nodded quickly, "I understand, we have checked out of the room and will be leaving soon. Mrs. Lin, please go back first." Mrs. Lin smiled and wiped her eyes, "Okay, I'll leave first. Please be careful on the road. Have a safe journey." "Well, it'll be a smooth ride." After Shen Wenru sent Mrs. Lin out, he asked Li Xiaoxia to look after the child first when he came back. He hurriedly went to the waitress to go through the checkout procedures. Then, the two of them took the child Shen Tianxing and hurried towards the capital. Go to the train station. After taking a train for nearly 5 hours and changing trains from the county seat, Shen Wenru and Li Xiaoxia finally returned to their hometown, Xiaxia Village, Dafang Town, Su City. As soon as they returned to the village, countless people greeted them. Wenru, are you back? Oh, whose family does this child you are holding belong to? Could it be that you and your wife picked it up outside? Shen Wenru had a good temper, and he responded with a good-tempered smile to the villagers' teasing, this child is ours now, and she will be our biological daughter from now on. We gave her a nice name. It's called Shen Tianxing, which means the star in the sky. Dominating the powerful families, Rebirth of the strongest Divinator. Author, Long Juyu. Chapter 4. The Stars in the Sky. The villager who asked the question laughed in a dignified manner, oh, this name is really nice. From now on, you must not hold this little guy in your hands and pet him. Shen Wenru also smiled happily and said, isn't that right? God gave us this little baby, doesn't it mean that we should hold her in our hands and pamper her, and make her the happiest child in the world? Ha ha ha, this child will be lucky if he falls into your home. Shen Wenru and Li Xiaoxia greeted the villagers and smiled all the way back to the door of their small courtyard. From a distance, they saw their sister-in-law Ma Hongying coming out with a basin of dirty water and splashing it on the gravel road at the door. This could avoid dust rises at the door of the house. Ma Hongying raised her eyes and saw Shen Wenru and Li Xiaoxia coming back. She raised her voice and smiled at them, I guess you guys should arrive in the next day or two. Why don't you call your brother in the brigade when you come back so that you can I'm going to pick you up. When Shen Wenru heard what his sister-in-law Ma Hongying said, he replied with a smile, it's so convenient to take a car now, so there's no need for the labor brother to come out to pick him up. Look, we're just going to come back by car. Ma Hongying laughed and said, that's true. You go in and clean up quickly. I have cleaned everything for you. After you have had enough rest, you will come to our house for dinner. By the way, where did this child come from? Shen Wenru saw Ma Hongying's eyes falling on the little Tianxing in Li Xiaoxia's arms, so he explained to her, this child is an abandoned baby we picked up on the roadside outside. We just don't have any children, so we will give her a raise it as your own. Ma Hongying opened the quilt that was wrapped around little Tianxing and saw little Tianxing sleeping soundly in Li Xiaoxia's arms. Looking at her little appearance, she looked quite delicate and pretty. She didn't know who the family was that abandoned this child. Psychology. This is too cruel. Ma Hongying said with pity, since we brought him back, we should take good care of him. It just so happens that our family only has brats and no girls. This child comes at the right time. In the future, we will also have girls who will be in pain. What do you think, yes or no? Yes, yes, yes. The Shen family that Shen Wenru belongs to is the most prestigious and has the largest number of people in the entire Xiaxia village. There are many branches in each house and many capable people. People from Shen Wenru's group stayed in the village. The Shen family has a very good family tradition. They are strict and self-disciplined. The members of the family also help each other. Everyone is kind and the brothers are very united and harmonious. It is very rare. The Shen family is becoming more and more prosperous. Shen Wenru's old father is now the old patriarch of the Shen family. Shen Wenru's eldest brother Shen Wenjun is the current village chief of Xiaxia village. Shen Wenru's second brother Shen Wenzheng works in the Public Security Bureau of Suzhou City. Shen Wenru liked rural life, so he contracted a piece of land at home to grow vegetables and a fish pond to raise fish. The couple worked together and lived a good life. The only flaw is that they have been married for many years and have no children. His eldest brother Shen Wenjun gave birth to 3 sons. His second brother Shen Wenzheng also has 2 sons. Almost all the people in the other rooms of the Shen family are those who have sons, and very few have daughters. Everyone said that it was because of the good feng shui of their Shen family that the population was so prosperous. But now, the accident happened to the couple alone. Not to mention how worried Shen Wenru and Li Xiaoxia were about not having a baby. Even Shen's relatives were extremely anxious for them and thought of many ways for the couple. Shen Wenru and Li Xiaoxia first went to the local hospital for examination, but the result was, there was nothing wrong with the couple. They also wonder, if there is no problem, then why can't they get pregnant? When they asked the doctor this question, even the doctor couldn't answer it. The doctor only said vaguely, there are many problems with infertility. Maybe you and your wife are too anxious to get pregnant. If you just relax and let nature take its course, you might get pregnant one day. The couple had no choice but to find countless home remedies with everyone's help. They tried many remedies, but they still couldn't conceive. After all this trouble, many years passed. Fortunately, the Shen family has a very good family tradition. Even if the couple cannot have children, Mr. Shen will not let Shen Wenru divorce his wife and remarry. Mr. Shen just said to Shen Wenru, if it doesn't work, you can adopt a child. This time, the couple will go to the capital. It is also because they heard that there is an old Chinese medicine doctor in the capital who is very good, so they went there because of his reputation. As a result, the old Chinese medicine doctor went to visit friends elsewhere, and his return date was uncertain. Shen Wenru and Li Xiaoxia waited for 2 days. They thought that they had something to do at home and could not stay out for a long time. In desperation, they had no choice but to go home. Shen Wenru and Li Xiaoxia did not expect that after arriving in Beijing, they only contacted their distant relative sister Lin, chatted with her, reminisced about old times, and told her about their coming to the capital to seek treatment for infertility. Suddenly, when both of them were extremely disappointed with this trip, Ms. Lin unexpectedly brought them such a big surprise. With little Tianxing, even if they can no longer have children, they don't have to think too much. As long as they have this child with them, they will be satisfied. Shen Wenru carried his luggage and entered the house with Li Xiaoxia, who was holding little Tianxing. They took a look around the house, and sure enough, it was neatly tidied up by the sister-in-law. It was as clean as if someone had always lived in it. Shen Wenru said to Li Xiaoxia, Axia, please put little Tianxing on the bed and go to sleep first. You are also tired. Take a rest first and drink some water. We will go over to eldest brother's place for dinner later. Mr. Shen and Grandma Shen live together with the eldest Shen Wenjun. Li Xiaoxia responded, okay. Then she hugged little Tianxing and entered their bedroom. Little Tianxing, who was sleeping soundly, suddenly felt a cold breath break into her body, and she shivered instantly. She opened her eyes suddenly, and a hint of coldness flashed in her dark and bright eyes. There is yin qi here. Shen Tianxing wanted to see clearly what was going on. But her sight was blocked by the small quilt wrapping her. Her body is no longer the powerful immortal body of the past, but a fragile mortal body. There is no trace of spiritual power in her body. The little bit of innate spiritual power she brought out after she was born has been used by her to seal the power of the gods. She was once pampered to the extreme by her master in the fairy world, and whatever she wanted, she would have it. But when she thought about having nothing now and having to start all over again, she felt the deep helplessness and aggrievedness of falling into the mortal world. But along the way, Shen Wenru and Li Xiaoxia had taken great care of her, were cautious, and loved her from the bottom of their hearts. Shen Tianxing had sincerely accepted these kind-hearted parents. Now that there was a problem with the place they lived in, could she ignore it? Dominating the Powerful Families, Rebirth of the Strongest Divinator. Author, Long Juyu. Chapter 5. Of course not. Not only would she not ignore it, she would also drive out this evil spirit completely. She wanted to see who was responsible for this evil energy hidden in the house. Shen Tianxing now finally understood why the couple had no physical problems but could not conceive a child. It turned out that it was this yin energy that was at work, affecting the couple's health and luck. If this is really man-made, then this person's thoughts are really vicious. He wants to cut off the roots of Shen Wenru and Li Xiaoxia, so that they can have no descendants. Who on earth has such a deep hatred against the couple? In order to expose his head and observe the surrounding environment, Shen Tianxing could only kick his hands and feet like a baby, yelling ouch, 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 and making a fuss. She thought she would definitely be able to roar loudly, but she didn't know that when her voice came out, it turned out to be the kind of yum 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 sound like a kitten's meow. It sounded delicate, soft, and pleasant to the ear. Li Xiaoxia felt extremely soft after hearing her daughter's kitten-like cry, "Oh, my little baby is awake, don't cry, mommy will feed you grandma right now." Li Xiaoxia thought she was hungry or had diarrhea, so she quickly put her on the bed. As Shen Tianxing wished, she opened the quilt wrapping Shen Tianxing, exposing Shen Tianxing's little face. When Shen Tianxing saw Li Xiaoxia's gentle smile, she also stopped shouting and showed an innocent smile to Li Xiaoxia. Li Xiaoxia saw the child's sweet smile, and felt that her heart was melted by the child's smile. Her brows and eyes were full of tenderness, and her voice was soft as she spoke to little Tianxing, "My little baby, what are you laughing at? Tell mommy, okay?" Shen Tianxing imitated the baby's pattern and said "oh oh oh" to her several times, waved her little arms, and continued to smile toothlessly and cutely towards Li Xiaoxia. Li Xiaoxia was so aroused by a little baby that she was overflowing with motherly love and couldn't stop laughing. Shen Wenru, who had just finished washing, heard his wife's cheerful laughter outside. He quickly walked in and asked his wife, "What are you laughing at?" Li Xiaoxia said to Shen Wenru as if she was offering a treasure, "Wenru, let me tell you, our little baby is very smart. You see, she is only a little bit old and she can make sounds and laugh. She is really smart." When Shen Wenru heard this, he also became interested in teasing Xiao Tianxing. He also came close to Xiao Tianxing, stretched out a finger, gently touched Xiao Tianxing's tender face, smiled and said to Xiao Tianxing, "Baby, I am daddy. Do you recognize daddy?" Shen Tianxing said "oh" to him twice, then showed his signature toothless smile, and his eyebrows were crooked as he smiled, which moved Shen Wenru, the father, to the point of being moved. "Oh, my little baby, do you really understand what daddy said?" Shen Tianxing said "oh" twice more. Shen Wenru and Li Xiaoxia were shocked. This little guy had just come out of his mother's womb not long ago. How could he understand what they were saying? Isn't this too evil? Then, they thought of the third eye that Mrs. Lin said, and the couple's hearts instantly began to wander. Although Shen Tianxing lost her spiritual power, her spiritual consciousness was still very powerful, and she could naturally sense the surprise and worry of Shen Wenru and Li Xiaoxia. What comforted Shen Tianxing was that she did not sense their fear of her from the couple. As expected, she immediately heard Li Xiaoxia say worriedly, "Wenru, what if our daughter is really different from other children?" A sharp light flashed in Shen Wenru's eyes. He caressed Xiao Tianxing's face, and said lightly, "One of us must follow Xiao Tianxing at any time. From now on, there must be no one around her. Someone will watch her and protect her. I won't be afraid of anything happening to my child." Li Xiaoxia nodded repeatedly, "Yes, yes, that's it. No matter where we go from now on, we must take our children with us." Shen Wenru hummed softly and continued, "If we see our child having any abnormal behaviors or actions, we should teach her more. When she is still young and has no ability to protect herself, she should not be exposed to outsiders. Show what she's made of." Li Xiaoxia responded with a serious face, "I understand, I will." She lowered her head again and looked at little Tianxing, who was blinking her big eyes innocently with an innocent look on her face, and she couldn't help but feel happy again. She gently said to little Tianxing, "My little baby, your parents love you so much and will protect you. You have to grow up quickly, do you understand?" Shen Tianxing grinned again and smiled. At this moment, someone knocked on the door. Boom boom boom. A young boy's crisp call sounded outside. "Third uncle, third aunt, my parents asked me to come over and call you. Hurry over and have dinner." This young boy is the eldest son of brother Shen Wenru and his eldest nephew Shen Tianrui. Shen Tianrui is 15 years old and is in the third year of junior high school. He has good grades and is preparing to take the entrance exam for a key high school in Suzhou City. When Shen Wenru heard Shen Tianrui's shouting, he quickly walked out of the house and opened the door. "Xiaorui, please wait a moment, we will go there with you." Li Xiaoxia came out and said to Shen Wenru, "Wenru, little Tianxing is still too young. It's so late and cold now. I'd better take care of little Tianxing at home. You can go and eat alone." Shen Wenru thought the same thing. Although his little baby's physical fitness and IQ seemed to be different from ordinary people, she was a newborn after all, so she had to be protected. When Shen Wenru thought of this, he said directly to Li Xiaoxia, "Okay, just stay at home and see if there is anything else to eat. Eat a little first, and I will pack something for you to eat later at Big Brother's place." The relationship between their brothers and sisters is very good, and it is common for them to help each other. If Li Xiaoxia didn't come over to eat, Shen Wenru didn't need to tell her. Ma Hongying, her sister-in-law, would definitely pack a meal for Li Xiaoxia. The Shen family are all so easy to get along with, so transparent, and such good people. Seeing Shen Wenru and Shen Tianrui go out, Li Xiaoxia closed the door. When she returned to the room, she found that her daughter had fallen asleep again. Shen Tianxing also felt that the baby's body tired too easily, so she fell sleepy again after just a few plays. She didn't resist the onset of sleepiness, thinking that when she slept until midnight, she would be refreshed and ready to take action. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Dominating the Powerful Families, Rebirth of the Strongest Divinator. Author, Long Juyu. Chapter 6. Shen Tianxing slept until midnight and was woken up by Ping. She slowly opened her eyes, turned her head and looked left and right, and found that her parents had fallen asleep on the bed at some point. She was afraid that if she shouted, she would wake up both the couple. But there was really no way to solve this convenient problem by herself. In the end, she couldn't hold it in anymore and it was so uncomfortable that she kicked her calves hard and twisted her body. The mother beside me didn't react at all. Shen Tianxing's little face was filled with helplessness. She could only raise her cute little voice and call out to her mother beside her, "Ouch!" Li Xiaoxia and Shen Wenru, who were sleeping, woke up when they heard Shen Tianxing's call and sat up together. Shen Wenru asked, "Is the child awake?" Li Xiaoxia also instinctively looked at Shen Tianxing. When she saw the aggrieved expression on her baby daughter's little face, Li Xiaoxia immediately hugged her distressedly and coaxed her softly, "Oh, my little baby is awake. Are you hungry?" Shen Tianxing shook his little head, pouted his rosy little mouth, and hissed twice at Li Xiaoxia. When Li Xiaoxia heard her shush sound, she suddenly had an epiphany and laughed. "It turns out that the little baby wants to shush. Okay, mommy will shush you right now." Good dad. Shen Wenru immediately got out of bed, brought a urinal, and placed it under the bed. Although Shen Tianxing felt a little ashamed, he was helpless because he was in a baby state now, so he could only close his eyes and pretend to be innocent, and pee by himself. After he finished liberating the contents in his stomach, Shen Tianxing breathed a long sigh of relief. When she was in a good mood, she happily grinned at Shen Wenru and Li Xiaoxia, who were looking at her with concern, and smiled sweetly. The good father Shen Wenru immediately smiled and kissed his daughter's little face, and said happily, "Oh, our little baby looks so pretty when she smiles." Good mother Li Xiaoxia feels the same way. "Yes, our baby is the most beautiful." As first-time fathers and mothers, Shen Wenru and Li Xiaoxia really took care of Shen Tianxing as their biological daughters, and they wished they could give her all the fatherly and motherly love they had accumulated over the years. Now, whenever they see their baby girl's sweet smile, they feel very satisfied and happy. It seems that only after having this daughter, they feel that their life is truly complete. After Shen Tianxing finished smiling sweetly, he blinked at Shen Wenru and Li Xiaoxia with his big black eyes that seemed to be able to speak, and said hungry, hungry, hungry to them. Shen Wenru and Li Xiaoxia have now established a preliminary tacit understanding with Shen Tianxing. They can basically understand Shen Tianxing's movements and the information expressed by the polyphony of the single words she sends out. They knew that Shen Tianxing was hungry. Shen Wenru immediately took the milk bottle to make milk powder, prepared a bottle, and asked Li Xiaoxia to feed Shen Tianxing. In order to grow up quickly, Shen Tianxing was not polite to them. He sucked the pacifier vigorously and swallowed the milk powder and water. Seeing that Shen Tianxing was still sweating on his forehead on this cold day after drinking until the end, Shen Wenru quickly took the handkerchief and gently wiped away the sweat on Shen Tianxing's forehead. Feeling Shen Wenru's deep love for him, Shen Tianxing let go of the pacifier and grinned at Shen Wenru again. Amid her parents' exclamations and praises, she continued to drink her milk calmly. After Shen Tianxing filled her belly, the family fell back on the bed to sleep. Shen Tianxing closed her eyes and pretended to be asleep, but she was thinking in her heart, what should she do to successfully get rid of this negative energy in the house? Shen Wenru and Li Xiaoxia thought she was asleep and quickly fell asleep. Shen Tianxing looked at the sleeping new father and new mother, pursed his lips and smiled. She tried to open the god's eye, but found that this body now had no spiritual energy at all. It was not easy for a baby like her to gather the spiritual power to unblock the newly sealed eye of the god. Shen Tianxing, who had no other choice, suddenly thought of the life space that Master had personally refined for her. In the fairy world, space magic weapons are standard equipment that all people in the fairy world must have. But space is also divided into storage space and living space. The storage space can only store some things, such as storage rings, storage bracelets, storage necklaces, etc. The living space is like a complete small world, in which people, animals, and plants can live and reproduce endlessly. This life space of Shen Tianxing was made for her by her master, who spent countless efforts and collected all the treasures from the fairy world. Her master is a perfectionist. He likes to be the best at whatever he does. When refining the life space, in order to achieve the best, he wandered around the fairy world, and finally found the fairy mountains, fairy veins, and fairy springs, and put them into the life space together. The master also built a very beautiful manor for her, filled with all kinds of fairy flowers and grasses, which was so beautiful that she couldn't forget to leave. This life space was shared by her and her master when they were in the fairy world, and both of them could enter the space at any time. At the moment when the life space was refined, she and her master shed their blood to recognize the master. The master even said to her at that time, "Xiao Xing, with this space, no matter where you are, the master can find you." She was not very young at that time and asked her master in disbelief, "Is it true? Master, if I reincarnate one day, can master still find me?" The master stroked her head gently and said softly, "Master can find you in heaven or in the underworld." At that time, she smiled very happily, very happy. Thinking of this, and thinking of whether she would ever have the chance to see her favorite master in the future, Shen Tianxing felt her eyes begin to heat up, her nose began to feel sore, and she really wanted to cry. With great difficulty, Shen Tianxing suppressed his boiling emotions. She slowly released her consciousness and connected with the life space that bound her soul. If her life space is still there, then she won't have to worry about it in the future. When Shen Tianxing's consciousness finally found her life space in the depths of the sea of consciousness, she almost cried out in excitement. Her consciousness quickly flashed into the life space. Looking at this familiar life space, Shen Tianxing burst into tears with excitement. This life space is still there, so can she expect that one day, the master will find her again, and she and the master will still have a chance to be together? If that were the case, that would be wonderful. In her previous life, she was an abandoned orphan, and she was adopted by a traveling master. Dominating the Powerful Families, Rebirth of the Strongest Divinator. Author, Long Juyu. Chapter 7. When the master picked her up, she was only 6 years old, with no memory in her mind, and she knew nothing about her own past. She was very lucky to be picked up by her master. From then on, she grew up under the care of her master. Whatever she wanted, the master would give her, and she lived a very happy life. To her, the master is a father, a brother, a teacher, and a lover. In her heart, the master had already integrated into her soul and into her bones and blood. Unless one day she loses her soul, her master will live in her heart forever and ever. She deeply loves the master. But when she became an adult and felt that she could be with her master, she tentatively confessed her feelings to him. What shocked her deeply was that master ignored her and turned around and left. What made her even more sad was that the master didn't come back until half a year after he left. She knew that the master was rejecting her. After that, Shen Tianxing never dared to show any explicit emotion in front of his master. She was afraid that if she showed her deep affection and love for the master again, the master would leave again. One day, he might be gone forever. In order to be with her master forever, she could only bury her feelings deep in her heart and never let this deep love have a chance to show up. She originally thought that she and her master would always get along with each other as master and disciple and stay together forever. Unexpectedly, the master and apprentice would fall apart so quickly. Shen Tianxing's consciousness wandered in the space and stopped at the long pavilion beside the space lake. She seemed to see that peerless figure again, wearing a white splendid fairy dress, standing proudly by the lake in the space, holding a jade flute, playing for her one beautiful ethereal fairy sound after another. Sometimes, she would play the guqin enthusiastically and play in harmony with her master, which gave her a sense of happiness as she harmonized with his master's guqin. Shen Tianxing thought deeply about Master Shifu's peerless beauty. Only now did she understand what it meant to say, "It used to be difficult to overcome the sea, but it's not like clouds except Wushan." Who would have thought that what she said as a joke would now become a prophecy, and she would actually be reincarnated? If she hadn't been reincarnated with memories, I'm afraid she wouldn't even remember her favorite master, right? Shen Tianxing's consciousness stood in the lakeside pavilion in a daze. After a long time, she came back to her senses. Thinking of her purpose in entering the space, Shen Tianxing couldn't help but sigh. She has been reincarnated and her life will continue. She can only work hard to live in this place first. She will start all over again and practice hard. When she is capable in the future, she will go to the master, or wait for the master to come to her. She believed what the master said. He said that no matter where she is, whether in heaven or underground, he can find her, then he will definitely be able to find her. Shen Tianxing gathered his emotions and cheered up again. Her consciousness flew to the Zizu building where she and her master had more beautiful memories. The master is a very elegant and fastidious man. He especially likes the best immortal jade and 10,000-year-old purple bamboo. The things he uses are basically made of these two rare things. Everything in this Zizu building was carefully arranged by the master according to her preferences. Most of the small carved things and objects are from her handiwork. Every bit of this life space was created with the hard work of her and her master. It is the garden of happiness they share together. Shen Tianxing's consciousness drifted into the alchemy room in Zizu Tower, found a bottle of the lowest grade spirit gathering pill, poured out one pill, and divided it into 4 parts. She was mainly worried that the baby's body was too small and weak, so she did not dare to take one pill directly. She was afraid that the little body would be burst by the energy of the spirit gathering pill, so she could only divide it into 4 portions. She wrapped this quarter of the spirit gathering pill with her spiritual consciousness, and then escaped from the life space. As soon as she came out of the space, she swallowed a quarter of the spirit gathering pill, and then used their TNG Pavilion's unique mental training method Tiendeo creation technique to start practicing while combing the muscles of this body. Pulse. As long as her little body becomes strong and she can gather her spiritual power, she can display her abilities. Even if she could only display 1/10,000th of her previous abilities, it would still be enough for her to use in this mortal world. When Shen Tianxing finished refining a quarter of the spirit gathering pill, she found that a trace of spiritual power had gathered in her body. She quickly tried to open the Eye of God. Sure enough, you can open it if you have spiritual power. Shen Tianxing quickly scanned the entire room with his God's eyes. Finally, she found a long black wooden box like a small coffin in the corner under the bed where they were sleeping. The yin energy emanates from this small long black wooden box. Shen Tianxing originally wanted to deal with this thing himself. But then she thought again, if she dealt with this bad guy quietly like this, Shen Wenru and Li Xiaoxia still wouldn't be wary. If they don't take precautions, they might fall into someone else's vicious tricks next time. Thinking of this, Shen Tianxing started to do it. She let go of her throat and cried miserably. At this time, it was just getting dark outside, which was the best time for people to sleep. Shen Wenru and Li Xiaoxia, who were sleeping, were so frightened by Shen Tianxing's sudden loud crying that they almost jumped, and their hearts were beating fast. The couple hurriedly sat up, and Li Xiaoxia quickly picked up Shen Tianxing, patted her gently, and coaxed her, "Hey, don't cry, are you hungry again?" Shen Tianxing cried and shook her head, stretched out her little arm, pointed at the bed, and cried even more fiercely. When Shen Wenru and Li Xiaoxia heard her shrill cries and looked at Xiao Tianxing's red-eyed look, their hearts were about to break. Shen Wenru quickly asked Xiao Tianxing, "Little darling, is there something biting you on the bed?" Shen Tianxing shook his head, pointed under the bed, and said "Xia xia xia" to his parents. Shen Wenru thought for a while and asked her tentatively, "You mean under the bed?" At this moment, Shen Tianxing nodded her little head fiercely, and patted Li Xiaoxia's arm holding her with an anxious look on her face. He made an urging sound of, signaling them to go down and take a look. Shen Wenru and Li Xiaoxia followed Shen Tianxing's instructions, got dressed and got out of bed. Shen Wenru followed Shen Tianxing's instructions and lay down on the ground, looking around under the bed. After looking for a long time, he didn't find the small black coffin hidden in the corner under the bed. Shen Tianxing was so anxious that she had no choice but to use her spiritual consciousness and the art of controlling objects to drag out the small black coffin. Note: poems in the article. Once upon a time, the sea was difficult to overcome, except for Wushan, it was not clouds. It comes from Li Si, written by Yuan Zhen in the Mid-Tang dynasty. Dominating the Powerful Families, Rebirth of the Strongest Divinator. Author, Long Juyu. Chapter 8. When Shen Wenru and Li Xiaoxia saw the small black coffin, their eyes widened instantly, and they both asked in shock, "What is this?" Shen Tianxing gestured to them again, gesturing for them to quickly open it and take a look. She had already seen it with the eyes of the gods. Inside the small black coffin were 2 small paper figures with birthdays and horoscopes on them. Each of the 2 small paper figures had a nail cast with a spell cast in the cold light on their lower abdomen. This nail is called the nail that will cut off all descendants. Shen Wenru used pliers again and pried open the lid of the small black coffin. When Shen Wenru and Li Xiaoxia saw clearly what was inside, they suddenly felt cold all over and their hair stood on end. The couple looked at each other and shuddered at the same time. Shen Wenru and Li Xiaoxia now understand that this is the reason why they have no physical problems but are inexplicably infertile. Li Xiaoxia's eyes were red and she asked in a trembling voice, Wenru, who did this? Who have we offended? Are they so vicious and using such sinister tactics to harm us? Speaking of the latter, Li Xiaoxia thought of the grievances and pain she had endured for so many years in order to have a child, and couldn't help but hug Shen Tianxing and burst into tears. Shen Wenru's eyes were also red. He also thought of the difficulties they had faced in seeking a child over the years. He couldn't help but hugged his wife, and the couple cried together. Shen Tianxing felt very uncomfortable when he looked at his parents who were crying so hard. She had already seen a picture from the eyes of the gods. The small black coffin was secretly placed under the bed by a woman of the same age as Li Xiaoxia before Shen Wenru and Li Xiaoxia got married. Shen Tianxing didn't know this woman, so he couldn't tell Shen Wenru and Li Xiaoxia that the murderer was this woman. But the people who can enter and leave Shen Wenru and Li Xiaoxia's wedding room at will are definitely not strangers, but acquaintances of the couple. Shen Tianxing believes that as long as this woman is still here, she will show up one day. As soon as she appears, Shen Tianxing will be able to find out this woman. Then, she would punish this woman well, let her feel the heart-wrenching pain, and say this for Shen Wenru and Li Xiaoxia. If this kind of thing hadn't been classified as feudal superstition, Shen Tianxing would have really wanted to send this woman to prison to enjoy herself. However, if she takes action in private, it won't make her feel better. Now, she was waiting quietly for the woman to show up. When Shen Tianxing thought of this, he saw that Li Xiaoxia was still crying. In order to comfort her, Shen Tianxing gently patted Li Xiaoxia's arm with her young hands and shouted to express her comfort to them and told them not to couldn't be more sad. Shen Wenru and Li Xiaoxia, who loved Shen Tianxing, really recovered from their sadness when Shen Tianxing called them like this. Shen Wenru gently wiped away his wife's tears and said to her with a smile, "Axia, stop crying. You see, our little baby knows that she feels sorry for us." Li Xiaoxia nodded vigorously, lowered her head and kissed Shen Tianxing's forehead, and said in a low voice, "Wenru, my little baby is really our lucky star. Now I feel more and more that God must have sent the little baby to our home. Look, she just came to our house and she discovered that someone was trying to harm us. If it weren't for this child, we might never have discovered this in our lifetime." Shen Wenru also thought this was the case. He looked at Shen Tianxing, kissed her hard, and said with loving eyes, "Our little star is our little lucky star." Li Xiaoxia asked him again, "What should we do about this matter?" Shen Wenru thought for a while and said, "I think this must have been done by someone who hates us, and it must have been done by an acquaintance of ours." Li Xiaoxia nodded, "I also think it must have been done by an acquaintance." Shen Wenru hugged Li Xiaoxia gently and said to Li Xiaoxia in a tone as if he was swearing, "Axia, don't worry, I will definitely find this person. If we don't find this person, we won't be able to sleep at ease." Li Xiaoxia also nodded in response, "Yes. We must find this person. Moreover, I am also worried that if this person wants to kill us both, now that we have little star, will this person do harm to us in the future?" Little Seeing starts. Hearing the worry in Li Xiaoxia's words, Shen Wenru and Shen Tianxing were shocked at the same time. Shen Wenru also began to worry, "Yes. This person has such a vicious mind, he might actually do evil to Xiaoxing. No, I have to discuss this matter with my father and eldest brother to find out who is harming him. Us." Shen Tianxing thought to himself, "If this woman wants to harm her, that would be great. She is worried that there is no place to catch her. Come on, come on, come on." Shen Tianxing had been struggling for so long, using her spiritual power to open the eyes of the gods, and then secretly using her spiritual power to erase the mana on the nail that had cut off her descendants. Now she felt particularly weak and sleepy. If she doesn't erase the magic power on this nail that will cut off children and grandchildren, once ordinary people like Shen Wenru come into contact with this thing, the yin energy will invade their bodies, ranging from minor illnesses to constant injuries to the body. Now that she had wiped away the magic that had attached to the snail that would cut off children and grandchildren, she no longer had to worry about their safety. Shen Tianxing didn't care what his parents were going to do next. He closed his eyes and went to sleep with her. Only if she grows up quickly and becomes stronger can she protect her parents who love her so much. In Shen Tianxing's previous life, although her master loved and cared for her, she never had the love of her parents. In this life, she could meet such good parents as Shen Wenru and Li Xiaoxia. Although they were not her biological parents, they were closer to her than her biological parents, which was even more rare. Shen Tianxing naturally cherished them very much and didn't want anything to happen to them. Seeing Shen Tianxing asleep, Li Xiaoxia gently put her on the bed. Shen Wenru picked up the small black coffin from the ground and said to Li Xiaoxia, "Axia, please stay with the child first, while I go to my father's place." Li Xiaoxia nodded gently, "Go ahead." Seeing that it was already dawn, Shen Wenru wrapped the ghost with a piece of rag and hurriedly walked towards the home of his father and eldest brother. When he arrived at his eldest brother's house, he saw his family and his parents having breakfast. The eldest brother's children have to go to school, so they all have breakfast early. Shen Wenru shouted, "Dad, Mom, eldest brother, eldest sister-in-law." His eldest brother Shen Wenjun looked a little strange when he saw him coming so early. He couldn't help but asked with concern, "Third brother, has something happened?" You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Dominating the Powerful Families, Rebirth of the Strongest Divinator. Author, Long Juyu. Chapter 9. Shen Wenru waved his hand towards him, "You guys eat first, and I'll talk about it after you finish." After saying that, he found a place to sit down by himself. Seeing his gloomy and aggrieved look, his sister-in-law Ma Hongying asked him with concern, "Third brother, have you had breakfast?" Shen Wenru shook his head, "I haven't eaten." "You can eat." "I can't eat now." After discovering this bad thing today, how could he think about eating? If he didn't solve it quickly, I'm afraid he wouldn't even be able to sleep peacefully in the future. Especially since he was worried that this matter might affect Shen Tianxing's life and safety, he felt even more uneasy. When Shen Wenru's old father and eldest brother Shen Wenjun saw his appearance, they couldn't eat leisurely. They hurriedly finished breakfast and called Shen Wenru into the back room to talk. When Shen Wenru's old mother and sister-in-law Ma Hongying saw them entering, they quickly put down their bowls and chopsticks and followed them in. The remaining children looked at each other in confusion. The eldest Shen Tianrui said to his two younger brothers, "Don't look at it. Let's leave the adults' business alone and eat quickly. We still have to go to school after eating." His two younger brothers nodded, ignored the adults' matters, and quickly continued eating. After the adults who entered the back room sat down, Shen Wenru took out the small black coffin, opened the lid, revealed the contents, and placed it in front of everyone. Father Shen, Mrs. Shen, Shen Wenjun, and Ma Hongying all changed their expressions when they saw the paper figures with the birth dates of Shen Wenru and Li Xiaoxia, as well as the small black coffin and the nails hammered into their lower abdomen. Only now did they understand that it was no wonder Shen Wenru's expression was so ugly when he came in just now. Shen Wenjun asked anxiously, "Lao San, where did this thing come from?" Shen Wenru replied in a deep voice, "It was found under our bed." Shen Wenjun asked again, "Why didn't you find it before? How did you find it today?" Shen Wenru thought of his unusually talented baby daughter, and a hint of warmth flashed in his eyes. Little Xing suddenly woke up in the middle of the night and cried. At first we thought it was some bug biting her on the bed, but the child's eyes were frightened. He looked under the bed, pointed at it and kept shouting at us, so we searched under the bed for a long time, and finally found this thing. Even facing his own relatives, Shen Wenru did not dare to tell Shen Tianxing's ability to control objects easily. He could only say that they found it. But even so, the family still felt miraculous about Shen Tianxing's ability to discover this ghost. Father Shen asked in surprise, little Xing Xing can still sense the existence of such ghosts. Thinking of his precious daughter, no matter how bad his mood was, Shen Wenru still had a faint smile on his face, so Axia and I both feel that little Xing Xing is our lucky star. As soon as she comes to our house, she will give this harmful thing to found it. Mrs. Shen thought about the hardships her third son and third daughter-in-law had suffered over the years, and she couldn't help but said bitterly, "Who is this damned thing that wants to harm you like this? God should strike her to death with a thunderbolt." Father Shen and Shen Wenjun both looked at Shen Wenru, and Father Shen asked in a deep voice, "Third brother, who did you offend?" Shen Wenru said with a bitter look on his face, "Axia and I have been thinking for a long time, but we don't know who we have offended, and we have offended him so severely, and we have to cut off our descendants. However, Axia and I both guessed that it was done by an acquaintance. Outsiders generally won't do such crazy things, and they can't enter our room." Father Shen and Shen Wenjun nodded in unison. Shen Wenru continued, "I came here to see my father and brother, just to discuss with everyone what we should do to find this evil guy." Shen Wenjun thought for a while and said to Shen Wenru, "Third brother, why don't you call the second child to talk about this matter? The second child has been working in the Public Security Bureau and is more professional in these matters. He should be able to come up with a solution." Shen Wenru thought about it and felt that what the elder brother said made sense, so he said, "Okay, I will go to the brigade headquarters with the elder brother later and call the second brother to ask." Shen Wenjun looked at his haggard face and bloodshot eyes, and persuaded him, "This matter can't be rushed for a while, you'd better go eat something first, don't starve your body." Shen Wenru shook his head, "If you don't want to eat now, let's talk about it later. It's okay to be hungry for 1 or 2 meals." Seeing that he refused to listen, Shen Wenjun knew that he had something on his mind, so he simply stood up and said, "Then let's go to the brigade now." The office of the village chief, Shen Wenjun, is also in the brigade headquarters. There is only one phone there. If people in the village have anything to do outside, they will call the brigade headquarters to relay it. If villagers want to use the brigade headquarters phone to make calls, they have to pay for the phone call. When Shen Wenjun and Shen Wenru arrived at the brigade headquarters, the brothers entered the village chief's office before other staff members came to work. Shen Wenjun poured a cup of hot sugar water for Shen Wenru and asked him to warm up his body first. When it was time to go to work at 8 o'clock, he called his second son Shen Wenzheng. Shen Wenru felt sad for a moment now. Even when he drank the sugar water in this cup, he couldn't feel the sweetness. There was only a bitter water bubbling in his heart. After finally staying up until after 8 o'clock, Shen Wenru couldn't wait to dial the number of his second brother Shen Wenzhen's office. The person who answered the phone was Shen Wenzhen's colleague. He heard that the call was from Shen Wenzhen's brother. He had something urgent to call Shen Wenzheng, so he asked Shen Wenru to wait for a moment, and soon called Shen Wenzheng over to listen to the call. Shen Wenzheng picked up the phone and asked directly, "Hey, third brother, did you call me so early in the morning? Did something happen at home?" Shen Wenru briefly explained to Shen Wenzheng the matter of adopting little Xing Xing and then discovering the little black coffin at home, and finally asked, "Second brother, do you have any good way to find this person? Come out." When Shen Wenzheng heard that someone had used this vicious technique to harm his younger brother, he felt a surge of anger in his heart. He thought for a while and said directly to Shen Wenru, "This person's purpose is nothing more than to prevent you and the third brother and sister from having a child. If you hold a full moon banquet for the adopted child in a big way, or directly announce that the third brother is if your daughter-in-law is pregnant, you may be able to lure this person out. However, there are certain risks in using a child or a sister-in-law as a lure. Do you want to consider doing this?" As soon as Shen Wenru heard that this matter would be risky for his wife and daughter, he immediately said, then this method won't work. I don't want to put Axia and the children at any risk. Second brother, help me think again, there are other what can I do? Dominating the Powerful Families, Rebirth of the Strongest Divinator. Author, Long Juyu. Chapter 10. Shen Wenzhong thought for a while, analyzed him in detail, and provided another idea. Third brother, you have been married for so many years, but you may have never been able to conceive a child because of this thing. Then, let's first analyze and deduce this person's motives for attacking you. You and your sister-in-law should think about it carefully. Did you and your wife have any grudges with anyone before and after your marriage? In this first step, you must first identify the suspect behind the scenes. The second step is, after you find the suspect, you can slowly search for evidence that the person committed the crime. This is another method, but compared with the previous plan to lure the snake out of the hole, this one is slower to work and takes more time and energy, and probably more. After hearing this, Shen Wenru suddenly felt enlightened. He said happily, second brother, I understand, I will choose this second method. I will go back and think about it with Axia now, and then carefully investigate the evil object. As long as it is a fox, I believe she will definitely the tail will be exposed, don't you think so? Shen Wenzhenjian had awakened Shen Wenru's thoughts, and he also smiled and said, yes, as long as it is a fox, she will definitely show her tail. Shen Wenru said sincerely again, second brother, thank you for giving me the guidance. Shen Wenzhong said with a dissatisfied look, third brother, we are close brothers. Why are you so polite to the second brother? If you need to ask me anything else, just call me and I will go back tonight. By the way, look at my little niece. Shen Wenru smiled and said, second brother, can you just come back to my house for dinner? Okay, see you tonight. See you tonight. Shen Wenru put down the phone and breathed a long sigh of relief. Seeing him like this, Shen Wenzhong thought that the second child had some good ideas, so he smiled and asked him, third child, did the second child help you come up with a good idea? Shen Wenru nodded and told him the two methods Shen Wenzhong, the second son, had thought of for him. After Shen Wenzhong listened, he also said, I also think it is more reliable and safer for you to identify the suspect first, and then conduct a secret investigation. The method of luring the snake out of the hole is risky for Axia and the child. If you can't use it, don't use it. Shen Wenru nodded, and seeing other people from the brigade headquarters also coming to work, he said to Shen Wenzhong, brother, I'll go back first. I'll ask the second brother to come back to my house for dinner in the evening. You and dad can come over too. We, father and son, let's have a few drinks. Shen Wenzhong smiled and said, okay, I'll tell dad when I get back. Shen Wenru left the brigade headquarters and walked directly towards home. When she got home, Li Xiaoxia said to him with concern, I left you layer cakes in the big pot, and porridge in the small pot. Go and eat. If you need anything, I'll wait until you finish. Shen Wenru responded, okay. The couple have had a tacit understanding in everything they do for so many years. He went directly into the kitchen, opened the lid of the pot, and saw the millefeuille cake that his wife had left in the pot. He took out another large bowl and filled a large bowl of porridge with the fragrant millefeuille pancake. Hula hula and started drinking. After eating and drinking enough, Shen Wenru returned to the room. He first glanced at his precious daughter who was sleeping soundly on the bed, leaned down and kissed her little face lovingly. Then he sat down and lowered his voice to talk to Li Xiaoxia. After Li Xiaoxia listened to Shen Wenru's advice from her second brother Shen Wenzhong, she thought in silence for a long time, and finally said, actually, I agree with the trick of luring the snake out of its hole, so that this person can be caught faster. Even in the face of his wife's suggestion, Shen Wenru refused directly without saying a word, no. I still say the same thing, I would rather spend more time and effort on my own, than I don't want you and our little baby to bear the burden. No risk whatsoever. Li Xiaoxia said with some worry, I'm worried that even if we don't use the plan of luring the snake out of the hole, that person will soon know about little Xingxing's existence. Then will this person also do the same to little Xing? Hearing Li Xiaoxia's reminder, Shen Wenru was also shocked. This is really possible. It seems that we have to be prepared on both sides. While investigating in secret, we must also take precautions against the Kuo clan. We must not let that person's vicious intentions succeed. Axia, think about it again, did you have any grudges with anyone before and after we got married? I've been thinking about it for a long time, but I really can't think of anyone with whom I had any grudges. Li Xiaoxia sighed softly, I have been thinking about it, but I have no goal at all. You said that we both have the kind of temperament that is kind to others. We have never even quarreled with others, so how can we have grudges with others? Shen Wenru was convinced, that's right. If we can't even find the suspect, how can we deal with that scumbag? Li Xiaoxia saw that Shen Wenru had not slept well all night, and had been running around all morning, and his eyes were covered with red threads. She quickly said to him, don't think about it now, have a good sleep first, and let's talk about this matter after being refreshed, there's no need to rush. Shen Wenru hummed, feeling a little tired indeed, so he went out to wash his face, hands, and feet, took off his coat, and got into bed again to sleep. He looked sideways at his daughter who was sleeping soundly, closed his eyes with contentment, and fell into a deep sleep. Li Xiaoxia saw that her husband and daughter were asleep. She was bored alone and the weather was cold, so she went back to bed and slept with her daughter and husband. When Shen Tianxing woke up, he saw that his parents were still sleeping. She did not wake them up, took out another quarter of the spirit gathering pill from the life space, drank it, and continued her great practice. Many of the spells in Tianji Pavilion in the immortal realm require spiritual power or fairy power to support their performance, so she must improve her cultivation as soon as possible. Otherwise, if she encounters these harmful warlocks, she will not be able to deal with them. With the foundation she had laid the previous time, she took the spirit gathering pill this time to refine it faster. In less than half an hour, she had absorbed a quarter of the spirit gathering pill's effectiveness. Shen Tianxing took another quarter, but it was completely absorbed in half an hour, and then put the last quarter into his mouth. When Shen Tianxing had absorbed the last quarter of the spirit gathering pill, she also successfully entered the first level of qi refining. Although it was only the first level of qi refining, Shen Tianxing was still very happy. Because she discovered during her practice that the little body she was reincarnated in was actually a rare impure body, that is, an innate spiritual body. It is rare for tens of millions of people to have such a rare cultivation qualification. With this kind of physique and talent, she is confident that she can return to her former peak, then find her master, reunite with him, and never be separated from him again. After Shen Tianxing's training was completed, Shen Wenru and Li Xiaoxia also woke up.